Hello, this is Bob Miglani. I'm with Jason Grossman, and Jason and I are pharmaceutical managers of 20, 30 years of experience in sales, marketing, pricing, patient experience, patient access, patient services, commercial operations. And on this podcast, we're going to share their latest and greatest insights to help you, yes, you, the pharmaceutical leader, understand patient experiences and what's changing and evolving to help you deliver a beautiful experience for patients in your company, in your brand, and in your patient services program. So tune in and listen in and share and learn and ask us great questions. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you. I'm really delighted that you joined us today because we're going to be talking about the Pharma Direct to Patient model. What's going on with that model? That might be interesting for you if you're a patient services leader, patient engagement, patient education leader, or a brand manager, or you're managing a hub. You want to be here and learn. You're at the right place because we've got a great guest here. Jason Grossman is an executive, pharma executive, 25, 30 years. He's been in commercial operations. I'm going to let him introduce himself, but I'm really delighted that you're here. Again, my name is Bob Miglani. I'm the founder and CEO of Hoot. And what we do is patient education systems. But we want to today talk to you about the pharma direct-to-patient model. So, Jason, please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and tell us what you're working on. Delighted to have you join us. Please tell us.
Great. Thanks, Bob. Thanks for inviting me to talk to you today about patients. Been in the pharma industry for 25 plus years. I've been in multiple different roles, starting in sales, marketing, and I've gone across big pharma, medium-sized pharma. In the last couple of years, I've been at 3 startups. Most of my career has been in the oncology and hematology area, and I've spent time in rheumatology, nephrology. It's been a wild ride. We've seen a lot of innovation, and we've seen a lot of specialization throughout the years. And the latest innovation and the latest specialty that pharma is focusing on is patients. And in the end, it's always about the patient for us, getting that patient the right drug at the right time. And we're seeing that every day now. We see it on TV and across the board that direct to patient is becoming more and more important. And that's what we're here to talk about today.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. I know I want to go deep into a lot of your experiences, particularly, rare disease, ultra rare, oncology. These are really, pharma, I looked at the data recently, the last 3 years, Jason, I'm sure you've seen this. Since I left pharma, I was at Pfizer, as you know, for about 23 years. I left some years ago, but what I've seen is that huge shift from big pharma to little pharma. And what I mean by that is 1 product, 2 product companies that are all, and 92% of FDA approvals, I found a statistic, 92% of pharma products approved by the FDA have been in specialty niche conditions, primarily oncology. There's also autoimmune and immunology and neurology. Would you agree with that? Would you think that that's what you're seeing as well?
Absolutely. If you think back to the 90s, and you and I are old enough to remember what the pharma industry was like back then, it was big drugs for big diseases. It was cardiology, it was allergy, and it was a molecule, and we throw it up and we hit as many patients as we can to help them. And what we've seen over the past 20 plus years is the specialization. It's the rare diseases, and the cause has been that pharma is going down to a molecular level now, down to the DNA. And it's about testing, and it's about pinpointing. And we've heard this a lot, and it's finally coming to fruition. It's personalized medicine.
Yeah.
There are many companies out there that are getting so niche in their products for specialized patients. And I'll give you a very good example. The first startup I worked in, it was an ultra rare disease, and I didn't understand what that meant until I actually got there. It was for a ultra rare hematology disease that there were less than 100 patients in the US that this product was supporting and saving lives. And it comes down to, how do you recognize that patient? And it's through all of the testing that can be done now, all these genetic testing companies and all of these products that can actually understand and target these rare and ultra rare diseases.
Yeah, it's no longer just about the x-ray, the blood test, or some sort of a scan. That alone it's not sufficient to diagnose these conditions today, right?
No, not at all. And we've seen the pathology field explode. There are pathologists, the blood tests have to be read, have to be understood, and pathology has advanced so much that we're able to recognize targets, especially in the hematology oncology field. And it's made our jobs in pharma that much harder and that much easier to come up with targets to hit those specified products.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think let's talk about what's shaping direct to patient, the pivot that's happening, the pharma's pivoting to, and what they can expect this year. So the audience here, pharmaceutical executives, Jason, as you know, pharma services, patient engagement, patient services, hubs, patient engagement, brand managers, who are looking to increase share, leaders in pharmaceuticals who are driving some of these direct to patient channels. So let's talk about, I made a list of kind of some of the things that I thought was driving some of this, and I want you to go through it with me and to share what you think of that and get us a sense of like, where are we going? So I'm going to just share my screen right now, and let me know if you see it. So, I wanted to kind of summarize this a little bit, Jason. I want to get your sense of what this looks like. But I believe, and I'm seeing this, and you and I have been talking for a little while, there's a massive patient confusion crisis going on. Doctors don't have time to educate patients about these complex diseases they're seeing more and more. And so patients are overwhelmed and they're misinformed often. So ChatGPT announced just recently, about a week or so ago, ChatGPT Health, 300 million people go on it, right? Every day to talk about health or ask about health. Reddit, social peer groups, these are further confusing patients. I mean, as much as they help, they also confuse because it's too much information. And diseases are more complex than ever before, as we know. The model of, as you said, we're going down to the molecular level. There's also cost pressures, Trump RX, good RX. Also, patients expect more, better, faster. They expect a more beautiful experience, like they have with so much of technology today. Whether they go to a clinic in an urban area or to go to the suburbs, they expect better. So I'm just going to pause there for a second, Jason. What's your sense of this? Does that make sense to you? Expand a little bit on sort of the points we're seeing here in terms of patient confusion a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, Bob. If we think about, go back 10 years and maybe even 15 years ago, we started to see commercials, right? You always saw drugs in magazines,
right?
And they always focused on the ladies, the women.
Yes, right? Yes.
Because they are the primary decision makers for drugs.
Right.
But we've seen an explosion on TV. We see it every day, multiple commercials, and they used to be for lifestyle drugs. And you know which ones I'm talking about, coming from Pfizer, right? And now you're seeing on TV diseases you've never heard of. and they're acronyms. You don't even know what they are.
Right.
And all of that is caused by being able to treat patients with these rare and ultra rare diseases. And, let's face it, why are they on TV? Because these drugs, these products that are life-saving, also cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's why pharma companies, they spend a lot of money. We've been in the industry for a long time, and I've always heard it takes $1 billion in 15 years to bring a drug to market. And that's if the drug can make it to market.
Right.
Right. So what's happening is pharma is having this evolution of going direct to patient, and we're seeing it every day. If you think about the Amazon model, Amazon has their own pharmacy now.
Yeah.
Why would you want to send your prescriptions to Amazon when you can go to your local CVS?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Trump RX, Good RX.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the model we hear every day. The PBMs, right, are blaming the pharma companies. The pharma companies are blaming the insurance companies. The insurance companies are blaming, and the list goes on and on and on. And so companies like Hims and Hers, Weight Watchers now, again, we're seeing these commercials every day for these third-party compounders. And it's because of the price of drugs. Insurance premiums are skyrocketing. It's the system that's causing this evolution, and pharma is keeping up with it to go direct to patient.
That's right.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing for patients, and it's a good thing for the industry because it has to evolve.
Absolutely. I think you've hit on a couple of quick points. I want to kind of just make sure we talk about. One is, pharma R&D spend is now $2 billion. The latest figure I heard. When I was at Pfizer, it was $1 billion. Now it's $2 billion for R&D if you make it to market. So you're right. Pharma has to recoup that investment, and the pricing. And I spent some years at Pfizer in pricing and reimbursement and market access and so on. And pricing has evolved in that it's very expensive. These products now are hundreds of thousands of dollars. Insurance, covers a lot of them, but some of them they don't. I think the third thing you mentioned is that more and more, I think there's a whole longevity boom going on. And what I mean by that is that patients today are not just satisfied with okay, you got cholesterol, you'll get on a statin, right? You kind of know, generally speaking. But then there's patients who want to proactively manage their health, optimize their health. So it's probably another force that's driving this. So obesity market, right? GLP-1s have exploded. Now new peptides are coming up for so many new treatments from arthritis and so on. But the idea is that the patient is smarter than ever before. And this is going to drive them to go to the company's direct website to be able to buy directly from them. So let's talk about what happens. So those are the forces that are driving patients to direct to or the companies to go to a patient to direct to patient. But what happens next? Walk us through. Let's walk a little bit through, Jason. What you're seeing in terms of what happens after the doctor diagnoses a condition. Let's talk about specifics. You go to the doctor. What happens when the doctor diagnoses a rare disease, a oncology patient? You were in oncology for a long time. Let's go to oncology, for example. What happens to in the oncologist's office?
Right. And let's back up from there for a second. Think about the billions of dollars across all the pharma companies they spend on educating HCPs.
Right.
It went from multi-channel to omni-channel, right message, right time, right person, right medium. And with all that money, doctors don't have time to actually educate the patient. And that's the crux of the issue. And it goes back to the insurance company. They have to see more patients to keep up for their own revenue. So it's this endless cycle of, hey, I have a more complex disease state, And it's complex because, like I just put in the chat, guidelines. There are so many guidelines out there, especially in hematology and oncology, that physicians don't understand them. Pharma companies sometimes don't understand them. And then physicians get a hold of them.
Yeah.
And between the guidelines on how they should treat, the diagnosis of the disease going down to the molecular level, what tests they're prescribing, how does that test, what is the result of those tests? How can a doctor, how can an HCP, how can a nurse in 15 minutes, after they've just told someone this devastating news, whose mind is going in a million places, educate a patient, have them come out and actually make a decision? That's the crux of the issue in any ology you want to talk about.
Right.
From neurology, rheumatology, oncology, hematology, the list goes on.
Yeah.
So patients are confused.
Yeah.
Where do they go? They walk out of that office with a glazed look in their eyes, and what is the next step for them? The physician knows that they've heard every fourth word that they've said. And what are they going to do? What are physicians to do?
Yeah. That's absolutely right. I think the time problem. So going back to the point, I think you're right. Years ago, I worked in pharma and in sales and lots of other functions. But starting in sales, you would see this evolution. The doctors don't have time, and today it's 7 minutes. There's not enough doctors. First of all, there's a real big crisis in that respect. Second is, when you do get an appointment, it's 7 minutes, 15 minutes. I had a friend tell me the other day, and she's in pharma. She's been in pharma for 20, 30 years. And she said when she had her cancer diagnosis, she knew a lot about oncology because that was her field of expertise. But then when she got diagnosed herself, emotions were driving everything. And she walked out and she was devastated. And she did, like you said, she had no idea what to do next. And then the barrage of information, she would go get online. And then she's like, okay, where do I begin? How do I do this? Looking at my own treatment, looking at my spouse, my families. How is this going to work out? My work. So it's very, very confusing. And today, doctors just don't have time to manage that. And so all that investment from all speaker programs, KOL meetings, right? Pharmaceutical sales force going out and educating, doctors, all of that is the bottleneck becomes the doctor. So the doctor becomes the bottleneck, but the doctor also becomes the opportunity in some sense, right? Because do you trust the information that you're getting online? And what we've seen, I don't know if let me share my screen a little bit. I don't know if you've seen this here. So what you're seeing is that, what we're seeing as a result in terms of patients is that they're overwhelmed and confused more and more. And that's resulting in, we're seeing a high abandonment rate. Doctors say you need this therapy, you need this treatment, and patients abandon that prescription. Never gets filled. 40%, 50% does not get filled. Early discontinuation, they don't stay on it. And all that investment in 30 to 75 million on patient services programs, huge costs. And what's the point of if 40% abandon, 60% discontinue, and the days to therapy are longer and longer? So as we talked about, patients are really confused. And then let's talk a little bit about misinformation. We're seeing lots of influencers shape that information. And the question is, who do you believe? Who do you trust more than ever? And then if you go to ChatGPT, you're going to be, given the chaos of confusion, which is, you go there. There's, by the way, I don't know if you know this, Jason, but there's a lot of the threads that come up, the content that comes up, that's fed into ChatGPT, came from Reddit, and Reddit has a lot of fear-based information. So what they're doing is they're looking at this and saying, is this drug giving me this side effect? Should I take this? It's never about, I've had this great experience on this drug. It's always like something negative that happened. And that's feeding people in a way that is very negative, and it makes them hesitate. So patients today are hesitating more and more. Are you seeing that in your business, in the companies that you work with, Jason, in terms of ultra disease and oncology? That's delay.
So, Bob, there are so many reasons why patients delay therapy, right? That statistic that you just showed about first fill. If you think about it, there's financial reasons, there's clinical reasons, there's family reasons. There's so much confusion between the government, the internet, family members. It's almost endless. And patients become numb to it after a while. And especially with diseases that you might not feel the effects right away. If you think about the diseases where they're obvious, cancer, right? It's the tests and then the nomenclature that the doctors, how they refer to it. It's not how the normal, natural person will understand it. Right. And again, the guidelines on how to treat it. Right. There are so many different options. That's why you'll see patients go for 2 and 3 different, they'll see 2 and 3 different doctors.
Get an opinion, second opinions.
Right. Second and third opinions. And 3 doctors will tell you 3 different things. So how do you choose which one to go with?
Well, let's go back to but let me ask you this primary question here again. Let's go back to first principles here. So if pharma is pursuing this direct to patient model, okay, is this, and in the context of what there's a patient confusion crisis, this is a perfect storm brewing, which is going to be a major problem. So if pharma is pursuing the direct to patient model on complex, chronic long-term therapies, and the patients are confused, where the doctor's role is minimal, if you will, right? So what's going to happen? What's going to happen, right? This is the big question. It's like, okay, great, pharma's going to be able to reduce prices and go directly to patient and offer direct GLP-1s, for example, right? They're going direct to patients, right? But then the patient is more and more confused because of all this and overwhelmed. So what's going to happen, Jason? Tell us.
So right now it's lifestyle drugs. Right. Those are the drugs we're seeing mostly direct to patient, but we're slowly moving into more complex diseases. As an example, PCSK9s. Those are lipid lowering, cholesterol lowering drugs. We've seen companies like Amgen who are offering direct to patient model. And why is that? Because insurance is getting to be too expensive. And the out-of-pockets are too expensive for those. So these less lifestyle drugs, but more important life-saving drugs are now being given direct to patient because there is a model there where patients are going to go direct to a Hims and Hers or direct to a GoodRx. We see it every day when you go to the pharmacy. I'm sure everyone online, there's an insurance price, but then you can also ask, what's the GoodRx price? And sometimes you forget the insurance copay and I'll just take the GoodRx price. So what are pharma companies doing about this? They're starting to create entire departments around patient services. And what's included in patient services? Patient services revolves around specialty pharmacies, on hubs, on digital pharmacies. And forever, those were part of market access. Now they're becoming their own departments because pharma is seeing the transition that's happening. And they're moving their companies, they're transitioning their companies to better be able to service direct to patients. And what does that do for them? It's shifting their commercial model. It's shifting the dollars that they spend. to become more in line of the way the consumer, we, are now purchasing. But what's lacking? And so I recently went through an RFP for patient services. And we evaluated what those companies would be able to offer. And in talking to them, it was mostly about benefits investigations and prior authorizations, the financial aspect of it. But as we said before, that's one part. And it's a very important part. I bet you 50% of the people that do not go on drugs are because of a financial situation. They can't afford it.
They can't afford it,
Right? But what about after they get on that drug? And they're confused with side effects. They're confused with misinformation that we know travels more and faster than actual information. How about keeping those patients on the drug? And from a pharma company, that's just a direct impact to their gross to net model.
So you're saying, what I'm hearing is, this is really, really powerful here. What I'm hearing from you is this shift to direct to patient is going to go shift from lifestyle to more specialized for certainly for specialty medicines. Number one, and second is, the first fill is important, and raising awareness for the patient is important, I think. But more importantly, it's the adherence, keeping the patient on it. What happens after that? And there's a question from the group here, from the audience, about how much do you think pharma companies spend annually on patient education for first fill and adherence, which is exactly your point. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of patient education going on, Jason, on the first fill and adherence for patient education. There is on benefit investigation and getting the patient financially, viable to get them on the product, but not really like, okay, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to take this product, right? Like, how does this work? What's going to happen next? Is there another test I need to take? Another test? What do I do here when I get my blood results? What happens here? What happens next? So all of those questions patients ask about, what's next is very natural. And they typically go to the doctor to answer those questions. But with a direct-to-patient model, the doctor's role, it's almost becomes almost on the side. So what's going to give here? So give us your perspective on, this patient education piece when it comes to, specialty medicine and this new model of pharma direct-to-patient.
Sure, absolutely. Let's go back to what we talked about before. The patient gets a diagnosis and their world is rocked. They don't know what hit them. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the doctor's saying, well, we're going to do this. We're going to put you on this. You're going to be contacted by our specialty pharmacy or our digital pharmacy, or you need to contact our hub.
Right.
And they don't even understand what's wrong with them. Why is this happening to them? Forget about financial. What about the disease state?
Right.
What is the disease I have? What are the different options I have? And I think that's where pharma has an opportunity to help the physician, because I know when I go to the doctor, the first thing I ask them is, what would you do?
Yeah.
How would you handle this?
Right.
Because they're the expert. I want their opinion. Yeah. So I think there's an opportunity for pharma and biotech to help physicians educate their patients, not just with brochures. We've all been in the doctor's offices and there's a ton of brochures there, and they're either talking down to you or they're talking above you where you don't understand.
Right.
So I think that's the first opportunity for pharma is after that first visit and the doctor gives you that news. They've sent you for their tests, or they're going to send you for tests, and you don't know what those tests are for.
Right.
What's the number that looks good or bad?
Right.
How do you interpret them in layman's terms?
Yes.
Because the next time you go to the doctor, they're going to talk to you in words you're not going to understand.
Right. Well, they put it into ChatGPT. now, right? I'm hearing more and more the doctors we work with, the healthcare organizations we work with, is that patients are starting to come in having ChatGPT results on their phone about the test that was done last time, and then they have all these questions saying, what should I ask my doctor? And ChatGPT, of course, is going to give you, 18 questions, right? in the level of detail. And then the doctor is like, great questions. I don't have time, right? Like
Exactly.
so, right? Like, I love your questions. I love the fact that you're engaged. And, and then the patient sort of says, okay, this is a therapy that I want, or I'm thinking about, or what about this therapy? What about this drug that is approved in this country that's not here, or something? And the doctor himself are so like overwhelmed. So this is where people get stuck, is when they're
Or you'll get the doctor that gets annoyed that you actually did some research.
Right. Right.
It goes both ways.
Right. So this is where pharma has an opportunity here, is that you spent all this, pharma has spent all this, you said earlier, pharma spent billions educating the doctor. And what's happening is the patient is being educated by ChatGPT, Reddit, and, Facebook groups. And they're overwhelmed, or, government or influencers and so on. And so that patient is overwhelmed and misinformed often. And it comes against the very busy, very well trained and educated doctor. And it's time. Time is pulling away the doctor-patient relationship that used to exist 30 years ago, that no longer exists, and because of the time and complexity of disease. So let's talk about, give us the next couple of minutes, Jason. Give us some ideas. I mean, we certainly have some ideas we're working on at Hoot for really elevating that doctor-patient relationship with education that lives at home. But one of the things we talk about, Jason, in terms of the experience for patients, is the kitchen table reality. So we're seeing, I don't know if you're seeing that as well, but so much of healthcare decisions, so many healthcare decisions today are made by, like my wife, the woman in the house who really understands health, and it's done at the kitchen table, right? It's not necessarily in the clinic. And so that is where, and that problem is, you leave the clinic, you go home overwhelmed, and in the kitchen, you open up ChatGPT or what are these social forums. And so that is, again, where a source of confusion. So what we see is the kitchen tables where doctors need to start educating. And so I don't know, are you seeing that as well in terms of where they make decisions and how they make decisions today?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you a very good example that hits home for me. Over the holidays, we were all with our families, and having been in the pharma industry for a long time, I have family members that think that I could ask questions about diagnosis.
You're the doctor. You're like, what do I have? I got this mold.
I'm not a doctor. They want to talk about it, and want me to help interpret tests and drugs, and that's happening every day in people's homes because they don't understand. They're going to someone, a friend, a family member, someone who's in an allied position of healthcare somewhere, and saying, help me understand, help me. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know what this means. So if that's happening, in everyday tests, and with today's society, if we think about the lab companies and my chart, I can go get a test from Quest and I'll have the results before my doctor does. Right?
Yes.
So think about that, along with not understanding, especially with our elderly. Our parents are older, our grandparents and our aunts and uncles, right? They're craving credibility, and that's why they come to us, even though we're not doctors. That's why they're going to influencers. That's why they're going to the internet. That's why they're going to Facebook to find people, to find information. And when they bring that back to their doctors are overwhelmed because they just don't have time to spend to dispel the myths, the rumors. And they're just giving the raw information to move them on as quick as possible. And that's where, I'm seeing, as someone who's built ecosystems for patient services and for marketing and for sales, and talked to a lot of different vendors. Not only is it happening on the pharma side, but it's happening on the vendor side. They're starting to create specific programs about educating patients direct from physicians, bringing back that continuity of care. And that's where, again, companies like Hoots have stepped up and said, hey, let us partner with you to help educate the patient.
It all becomes, to your point, a place of trust. I mean, I had the same experience, last couple of years. I get my healthcare information from my friends. We're going to dinner and like, you got a blood test. What happened? Oh, my testosterone's low, and my cholesterol is this and that. Oh, what are you taking? What's the numbers? And everybody pulls out. I mean, as a 55-year-old male, guys, it's like you get that age where the dinner conversations are like, oh, I quit alcohol. Oh, I'm exercising this. Oh, my blood test showed this. This is my blood work. We're going to pull out their report and like, oh, my cholesterol is this. Oh, yours is, but the high one is, the low, and what's the LDL? Oh, by the way, you testosterone here as a guy, you should be on it more. I mean, those conversations take place. And then just as an example, that conversation took place for me a few years ago, 3 years ago, sorry. And I went to my doctor and I started asking her all these questions. And she's like, yes, no, yes, no, yes. It was very short. And I was like, okay. And then I'm like, what if I want to be on testosterone, right? Because my level, she goes, no, your levels are fine. And I'm like, no, is it? My friends tell me, and I looked it up. And so she's like, well, if you want, I can prescribe you, So the point is we got into a conversation based on what I needed, what I thought I needed to optimize my health, not just hit the basics protocol. Patients today, I think, are not happy just being okay. They really want to have optimization because we all want to live longer, right? And so we all want to live a higher, better quality of life. And we see everyone else around us influence us. I follow Brian Johnson on social, the longevity guy who's do not die guy. And he's terrific at informing us about a lot of information, but some of it I question. And so I wish I could get more information from my doctor as a consumer. And I think that's what we're trying to do, is really marry the direct-to-patient model, I think, of giving a value, lower prices, direct to patients. But I think what has been missing is that education from a trusted source. And I think having those two are the pillars, very strong pillars, on an effective message. And this comes from the doctor. The message shouldn't come from, quote unquote, pharma per se, or from any other source, but from the doctor herself, directly to the patient, as pharma is selling direct to patient. That should be in tandem, hand in hand. Because what's good as a drug or a product, you don't know how to use. There's, example, my kids have severe food allergies. All three of our kids have severe, diagnosis was made, and that we were like, go home and like research all this. And it was so confusing. When to use the EpiPen? Is there like a protocol? Doctors, very vague about it. And we had to learn all of this on our own after the diagnosis was made. And we felt completely alone. And it's because it is very confusing. It's complicated. And so like when to take the EpiPen, when not to take it, what is the right dose for it, the weight, all of that. I got the specialty pharmacy to ship us the Aviq, the epinephrine in the injector, but what else information I didn't have anything. So I think the education post diagnosis and treatment at home over a course of time is really powerful, because otherwise you're going to get it from very uninformed sources.
That's exactly right, Bob. If we think about it from a commercial standpoint, we had physician journeys within pharma companies. And I'm sure that, all of you that are listening who have part of pharma companies, you understand the omni-channel aspect of that and a physician journey. Well, now it's morphed into patient journeys.
Yes.
It's not just about, all right, let me educate the patient right after, either financial, clinical, but it's even after they get the drug and they start taking it and they have some sort of reaction, might not have to do anything with the drug, but they're attributing to that. And that's why that second statistic that you showed about adherence.
Yeah.
First fill, we need to get them on the drug and we need to get them on as quick as possible, but then keeping them on. And we're seeing in the pharma industry for these lifestyle drugs and even non-lifestyle drugs, a 50 to 60% abandonment rate.
Yeah.
Right? If we could keep, and if you think about those of you online and think about your patient, think about the patients you serve and how many are on your drug.
Yes.
If you can keep all those patients on for 1 to 2 more cycles, what would that do for your gross to net?
Yeah.
Right. But it takes an education on top of that. Patients don't want to be preached to.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so
they
annoying.
Don't want to receive a text
yeah.
and just saying, hey, are you ready for a refill?
Right.
There has to be a two-way dialogue.
Yeah.
There has to be more of, and especially with AI now, it doesn't have to be just a text message. It could be a text message with, tell me, are you going to refill? And if not, tell me why.
Tell me why. Yeah.
Think about that data, how important that is for pharma companies.
Yes.
In their commercial, in their patient aspects, in their market access areas. If you can have a two-way dialogue with every one of your patients and looking for trends.
Right.
That's where things are moving to now. It's education and it's the back and forth understanding for instantaneous market research.
Yes.
On what's happening with your brand in the marketplace.
Right. I think that's very powerful. I'll give you an example. I'm on a statin for several years, and every once in a while I get these prescription reminders from CVS. I'm like, so stop trying to sell me. I'm like, I get so frustrated. I'm like, so ridiculous. Life is so busy, and then all I get is just this generic reminder. And I feel like I'm being sold to often by CVS, by the company. And I'm in the business, right? I'm in this business for many, many years. So it's really about having rich communication, which would be like, okay, why should I be taking this drug? Tell me why. Remind me again why I got into this journey. And remind me something that's valuable to me. Give me tips, give me advice. Maybe it's lifestyle. Maybe it's something other than just, hey, I want you to just refill your script. Here's why you need to do it, and here's what happens when you do. Okay, all the data showed, this or something that shows me the why, not just what you want me to do. And I think that is, what we want to do. And what we do, one of the things we do at Hoot is we're about to launch something really exciting. Jason, as you mentioned, data is really valuable for pharma companies, but we're really excited about launching new technology that is through the text message. It can monitor and measure what patients clicked on, whether it's a visual, which video they saw, how much video they saw of the treatment, so that the company or, whether it's a clinician who's using our platform, but the company gets a chance to look at that data and say, wow, this visual worked, this video didn't work. And that market research, continuously can be changed and shifted real time. So I think that's really powerful. Let's just wrap up on a couple of points. Maybe Jason, if you can kind of summarize for us what you're seeing out there in terms of direct to patient pivot, and give us 2 things or 3 things that we should be, it should be on the top of mind of patient services leaders, patient engagement leaders for the next year? What should be in the top of their mind for the next year ahead, Jason? Give us 2 or 3 things.
Sure. So absolutely, it's about education. It's about creating trust between the physician and the patient and keeping that trust. It's about understanding from the patient perspective what's important to them and giving them the information in real time through technology on their needs on an individual basis.
Yeah.
And that's the education we talked about. If we can do it, if there's an opportunity and the technology's out there, I've seen it, where their own physician becomes their trusted partner through video and through text messaging, that intimate relationship is kept.
Yeah.
That's number one. The technology that we have now to exploit it and to keep patients, get them on drug quicker and to keep them on longer.
Yeah.
To enhance the gross to net models. And 3, to be able to bridge that gap and to be able to overcome the misperceptions.
Yes.
We become, again, partners with pharma.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, with HCPs.
Yeah.
And these departments are just going to continue to grow and grow and grow because more and more companies, more and more brands see the value of these direct-to-patient models because, and we talk about it every day, we hear it in the news, our healthcare system is broken.
Yeah.
And this is a result of that broken system.
Yeah. Yes. That's beautiful. Well said. I think what I'll end with just, a couple of quick points on from what we're seeing. Jason, I think exactly, I agree with you 100%. I think the system is broken. I think time is the biggest problem, where doctors don't have time and patients also don't have time because they're overwhelmed with so much information. Now AI is completely giving patients more information they could ever think possible. And some of it is right and some of it is wrong. And so you just don't know which one is which. And so patients are confused. Their doctors don't have time, and all the complex new treatments pharma is launching is going to create this perfect storm of slow starts because patients hesitate when they get stuck. When there's too much information, you don't make a decision. And so what we need to do is to clarify the confusion here, bring clarity to that confusion. And I think the way to do it is to go back to the HCP, to doctor, and also, some patient stories to educate those patients better and in the place that they really deserve, which is in the kitchen. That's where decisions increasingly are made today. So I think those are really important factors that are driving pharma's direct-to-patient model. So let's take a look. I think there's a lot of questions in here. We answered a bunch of them. Jason, I hope this is useful. Anything else to mention, Jason, as we close up here that you might want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, Bob, to talk about direct-to-patient. Like I said, the evolution, the revolution is happening, and we're going to hear about it. We're going to see it more and more and more. And the value in the end pharma is going to bring to patients and to partnering with HCPs is just going to keep growing. So appreciate the opportunity to talk and looking forward to seeing what Hoot has to offer.
Wonderful. Jason, thank you very much. So everyone, Jason Grossman, commercial operations, marketing, patient services leader, C-suite executive for 20, 30 years now. My name is Bob. So again, thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to close it up and wish you a beautiful snow day or a sunny day, wherever you are. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you for joining, everybody. Have a great rest of the day. Take care.